Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Concept Show, exclusive to the PAUK radio network. I'm your host Paul Rook, and as always we are joined in the studio by the stupendous Kerry Greenaway and Richard Clements. Hello guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How have you been?
Very well.
Good. Have you recovered from your paranormal investigation at the weekend?
Yes.
Yes. We've,
Very interesting it was too.
It was. Yeah. And incidentally, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about next week.
Yeah.
So we don't want to give too much away, do we?
No, that's why I was a bit cagey, because I wasn't sure quite like whether or not it was, because we're doing a show on it next week, guys, our first investigation since some of the restrictions have lifted. So yeah, tune in next week for that one. But
tonight.
Tonight.
Then, Kerry.
Okay, you're gonna let me go, are you?
I'll let you go. Ladies first.
Tonight I have a very close friend in the studio with us. She is an amazing psychic medium. Not only that, she works very closely in mindfulness and, you know, helping people achieve the best things out of their life. She is a fantastic speaker. If you ever get a chance to catch her speaking, then do so. She's been a regular of the Sage Paracon convention. And she used to be my co-host on the Spirit Dimension a few years back. Clare Hinks, welcome to the studio.
Yeah! Thank you so much. Oh my God, what an introduction. I feel a little bit humbled. Thank you, Kerry.
Oh, bless you. Humbled, it's what you do, love.
Oh, wow. Thank you. It was lovely. It's so nice, actually, to be back in the studio.
I know, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has. It has been a while. What's it been? Well, it was before lockdown, wasn't it? A couple of years now, I think.
Yeah, a couple of years since we did the Spirit Dimension. Yeah, together.
Yeah, what fun it was.
If you want to catch myself and Claire on any of the podcasts of the Spirit Dimension, then you can go over to our YouTube channel, Paranormal Concept, and you can find all of our past shows on Parasearch Radio, as well as all of the PA UK shows that go up as well. So go over to YouTube and check out some of the past shows that we've done, as well as the most recent shows as well, guys. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
And don't forget, while you're checking out our old shows, visit our website, www.paranormalconcept.com, and you can even buy our book to accompany it all.
I know, but the focus isn't on us. So I was actually going with the show me and Claire did there. It's not actually on us.
I'm good over here, guys. You carry on.
Hey, we've got 2 hours.
Show's over. Right, Claire, I want to take you right back to the beginning here because, you know, you've been on.
To do the do.
Yep, we're in the time machine, going back to the beginning for Claire.
Okay. Yep, cool.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Pause the Joker off the great Claire, by the way.
Yeah.
Someone's got to inject a bit of humour. No one else will.
We love a sense of humour. It's all right. We're not going to judge.
And I want to take you right back to the beginning of where this amazing journey started for you and how you first became aware of your talent.
Wow, we're going back a few years. Okay. So this all began for me when I was about 14. And I started hearing voices in my head, which sounds a little bit woo-woo, done that now. But literally started hearing voices in my head, and it would be louder for me at night. So I'd go to bed, and I never really noticed anything in the day. And when I went to bed at night, it was like I was in a busy pub, and I'd be able to hear all the voices, but not really be able to pick out one in particular. It was just an amalgamation of voices. And I was lucky enough to have a mum who didn't say my daughter was going crazy, because she believed in the spirit world, and she went to tarot readers and mediums anyway. So she actually connected with a lady who said, right, she needs to do this, this and this, and gave me a bit of control, so I was able to sleep at night, thankfully. And then it kind of went on from there. It just grew. It's a bit of a long story. So my dad passed away when I was little, when I was only 2. And he was actually the first full-on spirit connection, proper connection, where I had a one-on-one with a spirit that I understood and listened to. And my mum was the first person that I actually gave a reading to. So she was the first person that actually had any validation from me, which was lovely because, you know, it was just so lovely to be able to give that to her from my dad and know that I was getting something from my dad, having never had him there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because two's ever such a young age to lose, isn't it?
Yeah. And although I missed him, but I didn't remember him really. So it was it's a bit of a funny one. But I've had him with me heavily through my spiritual journey. So that's been amazing. And the rest is history. I just kind of grew. I grew with it. My mum used to bring people home, like say about bringing a stray pet home. My mum used to meet people and go, "Oh, this lady needs a reading. Claire, give her a reading." She'd bring home people and go, "Oh, this lady needs a reading. Give her one." I'd be like, "Oh, okay." So that was kind of how I kind of began to do readings for people, and then it just sort of went on, and I kind of grew up, and it became more of a party trick, if I'm honest, as I got into my teenage years, my more teenage years. I didn't really focus a lot on it. It was one of those things that kind of used as and when the time was right, and I would tell people as and when I felt it was necessary to tell them. And those days, it wasn't really, you know, you kind of had to find the right people. You couldn't just, like now I go out and someone says to me, "Oh, what do you do?" and I go, "Oh, I'm a medium." But once, like back then, I would never have dreamt of saying, "Oh, I'm a medium," because I'd be scared of what they would think of me. I think you know, we've all come a long way. I think you'll agree. We've come a long way, haven't we? You know, in our ideas and our thought processes.
I think the public has become a lot more accepting.
Yeah. So I grew up, got married, had babies, and just didn't do anything really. It was always there, never went away. But it was just not my priority. Other things took over. The real world took over. You know, babies tend to take quite a lot of your time, don't they?
Unfortunately, they do. Yep.
Sorry, guys, I have to wait there a minute because my baby needs his nappy changed. So,
your focus, but you're again, like it's your focus, isn't it? Your focus is on your family, and you kind of shut that down for a while, don't you?
Yeah, and I just did. And my very adoring husband, bless him, was my biggest skeptic, and he'll quite openly admit that. It's not so much these days, but so it wasn't really something that it didn't take priority. It wasn't in my focus at all for several years. And then my daughter, I've got 3 children, who are 18, 16, and now 9. And my daughter was born, and when she was about 2.5. Well, you all know my cousin Ashley Nib. He ran a paranormal investigation in Swanage, and he said, "Come and be the medium." And I was like, "What? No, can't do that." He's like, "Yeah, come and do it. It'll be really good fun." So I was like, "Oh, all right, I'll do it. I'll just do it once." And I said to my husband, "It'll only be once. I'll just go once." Famous last words. And I went there and did the investigation, and it was just amazing. And it opened, all my light switches went back on, and I was like, I did some remote viewing before I went there, and I wrote down everything that I saw. And I honestly, when we walked around that place, I blew my own socks off because I had no idea I'd never been there before, and everything that I'd written down was like I'd been there. I walked in and I knew exactly where the stairs were going to be. I knew that picture on the wall. It was really strange, a really strange feeling, brilliant experience. And then when I came home from there, it was like, Spirit went, right, she's back on track now. We're just going to find her some people. So I just kept, like, people just suddenly started like messaging me and saying, "Oh, are you still doing reading?" Oh, it was a low-flying aircraft.
Yeah, we get a lot of those in the studio.
Unfortunately, yeah. Paul
it's
has
the
a lot
open
of
air
those.
window.
He
Yeah.
sits
Oh,
right by the window, Claire, and it's like he won't have it shut. I do apologise for any background noise you might hear.
You might get
This,
some roaring up this end in a minute when we get a goal.
Yeah. So people would just like randomly start messaging you after that event.
Yeah, so I done readings like in and out, and then people would message me and say, "Oh, my friend so and so came and had a reading with you, and they said, you know, you were really good," and people just started coming out of the woodwork. It was like, you know, they were almost like they were lining up for it, and I didn't even advertise, didn't tell anybody really. People just sort of found me, and it just has grown from there, really. Yeah, I've been extremely lucky.
Lucky or talented. I think you have to weigh it up. If you weren't relevant and giving credible, validating information, then people wouldn't recommend you, would they?
No, I guess not. It's taken me a long time to actually have that faith in myself, and it's taken me a long time to realise that, you know, actually I'm bloody good at what I do, and I don't mind saying that now. But it's taken me a long time to be able to feel that about myself, and now I spend a lot of my time helping other people realise that about themselves as well. Because I think, you know, when you're good at something, to stand up and go, do you know what? I'm good at that. I can do that. You know, and my journey is just getting more and more exciting.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And knowing some of the things that we can't talk about. Now, Claire, I want to take you back. Now, if you don't mind, if you do, say so, please. Your relationship with your father in spirit.
Yeah.
Having not had him in the physical, how has that been different, do you think, to actually of him having been there? Because he's there, but he's not there, if that makes sense. So does he pop up and say, oh, if you're making a bad life decision, Claire, I don't think so. You could wear that skirt longer or something like that. How does that kind of work?
So no. So first of all, no, my dad doesn't do that. He's never done that. He's never popped up and said, no, you're not wearing that. Actually, I don't think my mum ever said that, to be honest. I always wore jeans anyway, so that's not the story.
She was such a good girl. She was such a good girl.
That's what she wants to make you think.
I was in
jeans and welly boots.
Country girl. Yeah, no, my dad was. I missed his presence. I really missed his presence physically because, you know, I went to the stage. I was the only child, and it was just me and my mum, and I did really miss my dad. I went through a stage in my teenage years where I just really mourned him because I didn't have any proper memories of him, so I had nothing to like hang on to, you know. So when he showed up in my, you know, as a spirit, I was like, oh, it's my dad. And we'd always talked about my dad like he was still there. Like we had a photo of him, and he was always part of the family, always part of the conversation. You know, even if my mum had another person in her life or whatever was going on, my dad was always still a big part of my life, even though he wasn't there in the physical. And when he showed up, I was just like, oh, it's my dad. And it never made me, people said to me, oh God, didn't it scare you? You know, your dad showed up at the end of your bed. And I was like, no, it's just my dad. It didn't really worry me at all. I was never scared. I was never scared of the noise in my ears, even when I didn't know who it was, because I always felt protected. I never felt scared. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of young people, which is kind of inspired me to create Spiritual Kids, which I'll talk about later. But because these kids, or kids that I've spoken to, young people that are absolutely scared out of their brains because they've got somebody visiting them in the middle of the night in their bedroom and there's noises and all the rest of it. And I'm like, I'm so lucky. I never felt that. I never had that feeling at all. And spirit side, my dad has given me, I went through a stage where, so you guys are spiritual, so you know how this works. You know, you get in your comfort zone, don't you? You still start to feel like you've got this nailed, and then something changes and you go, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this anymore. The spirit guide throw something else at you, and it just is like, no, I thought I had this and now I just haven't got it anymore. So when I went through a stage when that would happen like really often, probably only about probably 4 or 5 years ago, I went through a stage. I don't know, Kerry, you might remember. I went through a stage where I would change really quickly. Like I would settle for a couple, 3 months, and then something else would change again, and I'd be like, "Oh my god!" And
I remember those phone calls.
I sat on my bed and rocked like a crazy person, thinking, "What on earth? I need to get a grip. I need to get a grip." And those are the times where I always called on my dad. Those are the times where I would always go back to, "Right, Dad, if you can do anything for me now, get here now and help me, get me through this." And he always did. I always felt his energy, and he's got an energy like nobody else. So when he comes in, so when I connect with spirit and I'm doing a reading, they always come in on my right, so I always feel them up my shoulder. But when my dad comes in, it's like he walks through my spine, like he just walks in behind me and just doesn't stop. He just walks right in through me. It's really strange. It's hard to explain. And it always makes me cry. Like it's a proper wave of emotion. Like I'm here in the room, bang, cry.
But dads have that presence, though, don't they? That for all of us, no matter even whether they're in the physical. When your dad walks in the room, that's what it's like, isn't it? He is the hierarchy. He is like the tip of the tree for most people, anyway. My dad, he is the alpha male of the family. He is the one you defer to.
I don't know what my dad's presence was like. I don't remember what he was like when he walked into a room, but I know what he's like when he arrives in a room now. Put it that way. He's like, because I'm the only one that knows. I can feel him. And actually, I don't feel him as much these days as I did when I was. I'm going to say, for want of a better word, ascending. When I was growing quickly, I felt him quite around me. He would visit me a lot, but over the last couple of years, I've hardly had him there at all. My granddad, on the other hand, often, really often. My granddad was my mum's parents, my nan and my granddad lived not very far from us when I was growing up, and they were like my second parents, really. My granddad was the dad that I didn't have growing up. He was the man in my life, and he passed away literally a few months after all of this started for me. And luckily, I was able to tell him all about it. I gave him a reading too. It was so funny because we went to his house. We went to their house, and we were like, My mum explained to them, like, how do you go and tell your grandpa? Oh, by the way, I'm talking to dead people now. But we did. We went and told them, and they were like, and they never judged me. They just listened, and I was able to give my granddad these messages from his brother, and I was telling him all this stuff, and my gran kept going, "Well, I didn't know that. Is she right? When did that happen?" And we were like, so funny, because she liked to know everything that was going on. And when he passed away, it was an awful shock, and it was only a few months. So that was when I was 14, and he died a month before I was 15. So it wasn't probably even a year from when that started for me to when he passed. But his passing was massive spiritually for me, because if he hadn't been in spirit, I wouldn't have done or gone through or known how to deal with any of the things that had happened to me over the time. Because he was such a support on the other side. And I realise now that's why he had to go. That was part of his choice. Because if he hadn't, he wouldn't have been able to help me in the same way.
So here's a general question for you. Is there a gap between when someone passes and when they start to come through? Can it be immediate, or do they have to assimilate to the spiritual world before you can tune in? How does that bit work for most people?
I think it depends on the person. I've I've experienced it both ways. I've done readings for people who've had somebody pass, months ago, and they still haven't come forward. And I've had people pass yesterday, and they've been right there. So I think it depends on the person that's passed. I think it depends how they passed. For example, if somebody had a long, drawn out, terrible illness, and they, suffer a lot from exhaustion, and they've really deteriorated, and their body's been through a lot, their soul's been through a lot to get crossed over. They might need a longer amount of time to rest up before they feel like they can, like reconnect. On the other hand, I went to a spiritualist church years ago and did a thing there, and there was a guy sat there, and this gentleman came forward, and I told him what all it was all about. And afterwards he said to me, "That was my granddad, and he only died yesterday." And that's always stayed with me, because he got so much comfort from that, to know that his granddad had gone and he loved him so much. And it made me feel like, oh, we did a good thing today, to be able to pass that on to somebody, just to know that they just crossed over. My nan, on the other hand, her passing wasn't long and drawn out. She hung on for a week, and she passed in her bed. She was very restful. She just went to sleep. And to this day, she still hasn't visited me. Honestly, and it really gets on my nerves. I'm like, come on. But I think it's because I will it to happen, because I want her to come so much to me. But she knows that, but she's found other ways of connecting with me. So I know that she's crossed over. I know that she's fine. I've seen her in meditation, but she hasn't actually physically come to me. I'm like,
that's just rude.
Come on. Yeah, rude.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's just like she's passing, she sees you, but she don't say nothing. That's just, if that was in the street, you'd be like, what a rude person.
Yeah. I think it's because I probably put up a bit of a barrier, because I want it to happen so much. So she has found other ways of getting messages to me, and that's enough. That makes me know that she isn't ignoring me. Just that it might not be as easy as I hoped it would be for her. So I just, it's not a science, is it? We don't really know 100% what's going on.
But no, this is the thing, isn't it? It is. I can't explain. We've talked about this before. You do it, but you can't explain how that mechanism works.
Yeah.
So for us, we're in the physical, the 3D world, as it were. But in the 5D dimension, it might work completely different, because time is a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing, isn't it, folks, as we know? So the time might pass differently. For her, that might only be a couple of days. Whereas for you, it's a couple of months. And also, you were very involved with your nan. It might be too emotional for both of you to get the clear message through at the moment, because emotions will override that connection.
I know that she's there, because I see her in other ways. Yeah. So, it's fine. But it's interesting, because when Grandad passed, he was there. I saw him at his funeral, saw him in the house, and I'd go around and see my nan, and she'd say, "I can feel Grandad here. I know he's here." And he was there, because he didn't leave, because he wanted to stay until, he told me he was staying until she was okay, until my nan was okay. And he did. And then one day I went there, and she said to me, "Grandad's gone, hasn't he?" And I said, "Yeah, he has, because he's not here." And then he would just come back. He'd be there every so often then. So it was like he would go, like he completely left. He'd left the building, and then he would be there randomly. I'd go around and have a cup of tea, and I'd be like, "Oh, Grandad's here. I can feel him." And she'd say to me, without me even saying, "Oh, I haven't felt Grandad for a while," or, "I felt Grandad here last night." She used to know. She'd know when he was there. It's just an inner knowing.
Oh, that's lovely.
No, and now they're together. And don't make me cry. Change subject.
Okay, right. So let's get back to your journey. No, Richard, did you want to say something?
Yeah, you were talking how does your sort of like husband? I mean, you touched on it a bit earlier, and is he sort of still supportive of you going through this? Well, I take it that he is, but what are his sort of his background? Is he sort of spiritual, or does he sort of, or has he only sort of come across it since he got with you, so to speak?
Yeah, pretty much. So we've known each other. We knew each other for a long time. And he's actually, yeah, we knew each other. But he never really, he's never really got into it. He's from a farming background. He's very rural.
Yeah.
And now he's a chimney sweep, so he's extremely grounded. He keeps me extremely grounded. He's very realistic. Keeps telling me. So he stops me drifting away with the fairies. Yeah, and he's extremely supportive. Yeah, he calls it my woo woo stuff. He's like, yeah, you go and do your woo woo. I say, yeah, I'll go and do that. I've even evicted him from his office and taken over his office.
Right.
So he's got the dining room table now, and I've got his office.
Because he's a farmer, he should be more woo-woo than anyone.
Yeah, well,
they believe in a lot of folklore, don't they? So.
No,
yeah, well,
Richard is
not this
actually
one.
a farmer.
He
worked.
He was from a farming background. He did work on a farm for several years, and he loved it. But now he's a chimney sweep, so very different. But he's very grounded. That's the best way.
Okay.
He was very, very skeptical of everything that I did, and then going back to people started asking me for readings and things, and he'd be a bit like, oh, okay, whatever. And I used to get on and do it. And then he started going to people's houses, and people would say to him, is your wife Claire? And he'd say, yeah. And they'd say, oh, we came to see her. She gave us a reading, or my friend went and saw it and said she was really good. He got to the stage where he couldn't really avoid it anymore. People were just saying, oh, they were making the association, between the two of us. And now he gives out my business card, so he's very supportive.
Oh, he's very good. Have you had any sort of messages for him from the other side?
I have. It's something I try to avoid, to be honest, because I don't. We always say, his reply is, you know too much about me. So it's really hard. It's really hard for me to give him validation because his mind isn't probably in the right place for it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And you can't force somebody. You can't force somebody to take a message, can you?
No, it sounds he's quite happily sweeping chimneys, and you're quite happy doing what you're doing. So
basically.
Why not sort of why rock that sort of boat? Yeah.
So if a spirit does come to you with a message for him, would you just say to them, look, he doesn't want to know, or
I would tell him. I would tell him. Yeah, I would tell him. I have told him before. I have passed on a message before. But but I think they know anyway. I don't, there's nothing that he needs to hear from them, and he's not looking for any sort of. I always say that spirit gives me comfort, calm, clarity, and closure. They give you one of those things, all of those things, and he's not looking for any of those things. So he's not looking at me wanting something from spirit. So they're not offering it because they know that. They know that about it.
Yeah, I suppose they would, wouldn't they? Yeah.
He gets his comfort and things from other, from other places. Like, he's had obviously family loss and things, and he gets it from other places that mean things. So he doesn't need me to give him a message.
No, cool.
Right.
What about you've spoken about your 3 children. What about them? Are they displaying any of your talent, or are they, just it's just mum doing her mum thing like my 2 boys are?
Well, they obviously display my good looks.
Well, obviously.
So yes, yes and no. So my oldest is he's a little bit like, oh, it's his mum doing her thing. Although he does occasionally come out with something that surprises me, like, oh, I know it's real because I watched you do that thing that time, and I'm like, oh, blimey, I didn't even realise that, you know. So he very quietly lets me get on with it, but he kind of thinks, oh yeah, that's my mum doing that. I like to think that anyway. A little bit of proud there. And then my little girl, Phoebe, she's not expressed anything in the way of connecting with spirit, but she loves her crystals. She's very empathic, really empathic. So she picks up other people's feelings. You know, she cries when someone steps on a snail. You know, she's like, the littlest thing outside, anything to do with animals, she's just totally, oh my God, be careful of the animals. She'll build an ark and save them all one day. Yeah, and obviously the crystals, what Kerry knows, she loves crystals. She'll watch Kerry's lives with me when she's selling crystals, and she'll go, oh, I like that one. Can we have that one? Can we have that one? And I'm like, I'm on a budget, you know.
Yeah, she's a very bad influence, isn't she?
She's a very
Phoebe,
bad
bless
influence.
her.
Yeah.
I love her. I think she's brilliant.
I'm not sure.
You would.
I try to avoid Kerry's lives, but yeah.
Yeah,
I can't help it if I sell such amazing pieces for such amazing prices. Spirit and Soul Island, everybody.
Yeah.
Tune in now. Get there on the line.
That's it.
I'm always selling you, always.
I know, I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much for that.
Worth it. And my middle son, Adam, he's been on a couple of has been on a couple of investigations with me, paranormal investigations, and yes, he definitely displays a little bit of something. He's connected with his spirit guides whilst we've been on investigation and picked up a lot of things that I picked up well, and that wasn't through a conversation with each other. That was separately. So that was really interesting. But yes, but we haven't been in a position where we do it often. And obviously he's kind of at that stage where he's like been doing his exams and leaving school and all, like, what am I going to do next and all of that stuff. So his attention it's been on his hobbies and things, not on that. He's a little bit where I was, you know, like I think he'll probably grow into it if he's meant to.
Yeah, because it's that stage of life where you have to evolve yourself, don't you?
Yeah. Although he did say to me the other day, oh, there's a man in our house. I said, oh, is there? What's he doing?
Yeah, that's your dad.
Yeah. And I do like very often see somebody out the corner of my eye. Like I'll see someone on the stairs and think someone's on the stairs and there'll be nobody there. And I think that might be kind of what he does a little bit as well.
So what's the difference between working in regards to like giving somebody a reading and then doing a paranormal investigation? Because they're two very different ball games, aren't they?
Yeah, they are very. Both equally as exciting in different ways. So paranormal investigating is a bit of it's not something that I'd done a lot of until I went to Swanage and did that first one with Ashley. And then, of course, I met MJ, and the rest is history. But
MJ is MJ Dixon from the Sage Tribe, Sage Paranormal. She runs an online paranormal convention, an amazing online convention. And because I was part of it, obviously, so, you know, of course, it's amazing. And then, and she also does at Coombe Abbey. She does the paranormal convention there. She's done it at Warwick Castle as well before now, but because of COVID, that all kind of pushed it to online, didn't it? And she's part of a new TV series as well.
Yes. I was extremely lucky to be a speaker at Coombe Abbey, and it was amazing. It was just such a beautiful place, and the energies there were awesome. But going back to doing a paranormal investigation, it's so different for me as a medium, because when I connect with somebody and give them a one-to-one reading, I'm tuning into their energy and their, you know, what's happening in their life and the guidance that's coming from spirit for them. So, you know, for some people that's going to be, right, Granddad's here and he's, you know, wants to give you all this validation and you have a full-on chinwag and it's a lovely catch-up. And for other times, it might be, actually, I feel like I need to talk about your life and what's going on here. And, you know, it's more about guidance. And I don't even ask me where it comes from. It just channels. It just comes. But when you go to a building, you're tuning into the energy that's there, what's in the walls, aren't you? Well, Kerry, you know, what's in the walls, like what comes out of the walls, what's in the atmosphere. You know, the whole vibe is completely different. It's not you're not tuning into a person. It's more, it doesn't feel quite so sensitive, I don't think. Is that the right word? Doesn't feel,
totally.
quite so sensitive when you're at a place doing an investigation. Although I have come across energy in places that have had a lot of that have needed a lot of sympathy and a lot of empathy, and have actually felt quite sad and hurt, and you know, so it's really it's a bit of a can of worms, isn't it? To be honest.
It is a totally different ball game working one-on-one with somebody and trying to give them a reading to working in a paranormal investigation. It's a much more energy level base on a paranormal investigation. Even though you might get certain characters that come through, you are more linking into the energy of the location rather than an individual person, if that makes sense. So I totally get that. But the other aspect of that is the remote viewing. You said you've remote viewed before. How does that work for you?
Well, when I did that, I sat down to write myself a letter about what I could see in the place that I was going to, having never been there before. And I just sat down, I just thought about the place, I just thought about the name of the place I was going to, and just opened myself up to a bit of guidance. And actually, for this particular one, it was for the Royal Oak in Swanage, which is a pub. And this little girl just came in, and she literally just sat down beside me, and she said that I can't remember what her name was, but we wrote down everything she showed me. She showed me round the pub. We went in the front, in my mind's eye, we went in through the front door. She showed me where the bar was. She showed me where the stairs were. She showed me a particular picture that was on the wall. It was like landmarks of the place, you know. So like, when I went in there, I could say, yep, that's there. And I just wrote everything down, and it was like a bit like being shown a series of photographs, I suppose. That's the best way to describe it. And I've done readings like that for people. They just, like, the spirit will show me around someone's front room, and I'll say, oh, I can see a big glass window. Like, this is the room. The room's like oval shaped, and there's a big glass window, and I can see fields, and there's an armchair on the left, and you know, it was just like that. And people go, oh my God, that's Auntie Joan's front room. You know what I mean? and that's just what it was like. We walked around the pub, and when we finished, we gave the landlady this letter, or this, you know, bit of paper that I'd written, and she opened it up, and we all sat on the bed and read it, and she was like, oh my God, I can't believe that you've written all that down. And I was like, no, can I? Oh my God, what's going on? It was amazing. It's amazing. So that's really how it works. And it was just, I haven't done a lot of remote viewing. I've not had a call to, really, but I love it. I love doing it.
You've also done, when we was at Paraforce, I remember a phone call took place. You weren't there. I was there with Ashley, and he phoned you and he said, what do you think of this? And you did it over the phone. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do remember that vaguely. Yeah, that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, was it good then?
Yeah, the convention was brilliant. So was your reading at the time, because we was in the room with. I'll fill the details in a bit for you, shall I?
Yeah.
Yes,
John
please.
Blackburn. We were in the room, and John Blackburn was working, and he works with this particular portrait. To cut a long story short, he used to work with the Anguish Man. That had to go back to its original owner, so he felt connected to the spirit still. So painted his version of the Anguish Man, as it were, and the spirit connected to that photo. And in the room where this painting was and where John Blackburn had been working, we phoned Claire. And basically, what are you getting, Claire? Kind of moment. And she was like, and literally rattled off pretty much what the room was like. And she couldn't see it. This was like before we all have video phones and stuff like that. It was just a phone call. And she pinpointed the room, and she pinpointed this hatchway in the floor. There was like a piece of the flooring that was different to the rest of the floor, and it would have been like a cellar or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
As she pictured this in a, on the phone call, she was going, there's something on the floor and it's different to what the rest of the flooring is like, and underneath there is an opening. Now obviously we couldn't go down there, it wasn't accessible, but you could see, we were sitting there in the room going, oh my god. You know what I mean? Things like that. So she's like, although she's on just a phone line, within seconds that was, she was like picking up the energy in the room and telling us what she was getting and being correct beyond correct, if that makes sense. Yeah. If I didn't know better, I would have thought she would have seen a photograph of the room.
I don't even remember.
This is how good. This is how good Claire is. Now I don't advocate many mediums, as people know. I'm quite discerning, quite skeptical, even though I work in that way myself. So for me to turn around and say that's quite a validation for people out there to trust what I say. In arrogance there, but hey, whatever. Blowing my own trumpet. Because it's very rare I come across somebody where I go, wow. You know what I mean? In regards to this kind of medium work, very rarely. And I've been to a lot of mediums and a lot of medium nights and do that kind of thing. So for that to happen, that was just crazy. And I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't have been part of that experiment. You know what I mean? Mm. So Claire, well done for that.
Thanks.
That was a long time ago. I know, it's quite a few years ago, that one.
I had forgotten. That's the other thing. I don't remember a lot of the stuff that I do either, because it's not my, I was saying this to William the other day, it's not my information to keep. If I do a reading for somebody, I rattle off all this stuff, and then somebody will come back to me and go, oh, when I came to see you, you said such and such and such and such, and I'm like, did I? Or if I do a group and I rattle off stuff, and then at the end somebody will say to me, oh, you said this and this, and I remembered that now, and I'm like, I don't even remember what I said to you like 20 minutes ago because I've done 3 other people since then, and this information isn't mine. It's not mine to keep. It literally comes through. It comes into my head and comes out of my mouth, and then it's gone.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's the same. That's the same with what you're saying. Like I vaguely remember that phone call, but it didn't stick with me. It might now, because you've said Claire's so amazing. I remember this conversation.
Well, if you want, you can have a recording of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks.
No, I totally agree with that, though, because when I've done tarot readings, they might come back to me in a few weeks' time and say, you said this. I'll be like, did I? I can't even remember what cards you got. You know what I mean? It's because you're right. It's not yours to keep.
No.
You're passing. All you're doing is passing on the message, and that's it. And then the minute they go, you're doing something else, and it's gone.
Mm.
So wherever that information comes from, it's definitely not yours, because you remember your stuff more.
Yeah.
I
thought about writing a book, and then I think, I should write down, But actually, when I get to the end of a reading, I think, oh, I can't bother to sit here and write it all down. I can't, like what just happened, because it's like it's in the moment. That's a special thing. It's like it's amazing for the person on the receiving end. I've just done a live tonight. I do a live every Tuesday on my page on Facebook, and I sit here and I've had my cards out tonight, and I don't even know how it happens. And it's only because of lockdown that actually I've gone so much online with my work, because before that I would never have been brave enough. And I used to watch other mediums, doing their live feeds, and every week, or giving readings live, and I used to think, oh God, I could never do that.
Yeah.
and now I'm doing it.
Who challenged us? Yeah. Oh God, this was a while ago now. Who first challenged us to start doing Facebook Lives?
I can't remember. It was that guy, wasn't it?
Was it Andy Horner?
Oh, maybe.
I think it was Andy Horner.
I think you might be right. Yeah, he challenged us at both at the same time, didn't he?
He did, and we both like for ages afterwards. And he said like, "You've got to do it." And me and Claire were like, "No, I can't do lives on Facebook." And now we're always on live, aren't we?
Yeah, but those are just normal. Those are just talking to the people, aren't they? Like those lives. And we got our knickers in a twist about doing just a normal live. I would never have considered giving live readings before.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we went into lockdown last year, I thought I used to run a group called Dragonflies every week, and we used to get together. This is locally. We used to get together for a couple of hours on a Tuesday every week, and we do a meditation, and then we do whatever, some sort of spiritual development or some sort of something. Maybe do some scrying or some psychometry or whatever took my fancy. And when we went into lockdown, obviously all of that stopped. So I continued trying to do Dragonflies online. And then it sort of evolved into, hang on a minute, if I just do this on my page and just do a live every Tuesday, I can reach more people and I can have a chat with everybody. And it just naturally evolved without me really thinking about it. And then it turned into, I'm going to have a go tonight at giving some readings. Bear with me, I've never done this before. And now once I start, I can't stop. And it's like, I'm just guided. I've just been guided there. It's just happened. It honestly what I mean. My life is just like, what the hell is going on?
Sorry, Richard, carry on.
Yeah. So you find you can give a reading remotely just as well as actually sitting face to face with someone.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been doing readings through lockdown on Zoom and on video call, on Facebook, and then when lockdown was lifted and people were like, "Oh, are you doing face to face again now?" I was like, "Oh God, I've got to go back to face to face. Oh no, how am I going to do that?" But I have now, and it's fine. And it's just, but you get used to working like the way that you have to work. You just get used to doing it one way. But it's lovely to be able. I see now why that's happened for me, because I need to be able to have that versatility so that I can, give readings to people that are hundreds of miles away. I've given readings. I'm international, I've given readings to people in, Australia and America and from my front room, and it's just been lovely. It's been really lovely. Nice to have that reach.
It most certainly is. Now,
Yeah.
This is, we've been very focused on the first half on your own personal psychic mediumship. Before we break, we've got a little while yet. We've got about 10 minutes roughly. I want to carry on exploring that side of you, because in the second half, I want to go into your spiritual side, which is a totally different ball game. That guidance you offer people with regard to their own spiritual journey. But your own spiritual journey, how has that evolved?
Oh, you're not just going to leave me there, are you? How was my spiritual journey evolved?
Okay, let me break it down for you. Right, so your very first spirit guide, what spirit guide very first spirit guide, what spirit guide came to you, and what message were they giving you? Because spirit guides could be quite, no disrespect to my spirit guides or anybody's spirit guides on this one, but it could be very, very.
I don't know what you mean.
You do.
I think that we get a preconceived idea of what our spirit guide should look like, don't we? Some people do anyway.
Some people do, yeah. It's got to be the Native American person, or it's got to be, I totally agree with that. And they're usually completely different from what you first imagine.
My spiritual journey has been, although I've had support around me, it's been actually quite lonely in a way, because everything that I have learned up to a point, I found out in a book, or I've happened to have been lucky enough to have a chat with somebody, because there wasn't the places weren't available to go. Like, you couldn't just go online and Google something like, that was happening, or you couldn't just like, what's an aura, or why, what's the thing with my solar plexus, what's that connected to? And I don't understand. Do you know what I mean? There was nowhere to go and find this information easily. So the first time that I connected with my spirit guide, I read it in a book. My mum lent me a book, and I just happened to read How to Connect with Your Spirit Guide. I wasn't looking for it, but it was just there. So I thought, I'll have a go at that. And the author of the book had written, just close your eyes and ask for the person in charge of your development to step forward. I was like, I can do that. Okay, I'll do that. So I did it. And this guy just popped right into my head. There he was. I can't even remember his name. His name escapes me. He's gonna kill me. But he was a little bit like that. I haven't had him. He hasn't been a big part of my team for a long time. I've got a spirit team. He hasn't been a big part of it for a long time. He still hangs around, but he's not, there so much because my needs have changed. But he's a bit like that. So he's a big, big, tall, Indian-looking man. Had like an animal skin waistcoat, and he had these like dreads in his hair, but they were like really long dreads in his hair. Tong Wu, his name was Tong Wu. There we go. I knew it come to me. And he was with me for ages, really ages. But I had another guide stepped forward really quickly after I connected with him. And she's called Sylvia. She came to me in a meditation, and she told me that she was empathic and that she would help me to understand my clients' needs, to help tune into their emotions and understand, so that I could feel the feelings that were coming to me from their loved ones in spirit, so that I could be empathic about my delivery, so that I could, feel the feelings for them, feel the love, or feel the heartbreak, or be able to explain it better. So that's what she did. And she was a hippie chick, like no shoes, bare feet, really long hair, flowing skirt, like proper gypsy looking lady. And she was about 45, 50. And she's still hanging around. She's still hanging around me. Every so often she's like, remember to be empathic. She just like pops in to tell me, remember to be empathic. So I have a team. I have a team of them now, and they've all evolved and continue to do so. So I have new guides depending on what I'm doing.
So that's the thing, isn't it? You don't just get stuck with one.
Oh no, you didn't get stuck with one.
No, you have various ones that come in at various times for various parts of your journey.
Yeah. So for me, then, let me give you another example. My journey has recently evolved into spiritual development, so helping others to embrace their own spiritual development, right? To grow, to learn, to tune into spirit, to trust their intuition, all of those things. And I run this group on a Wednesday evening on Zoom, and they'll all tell you. I say, right, we're going to do this week. I don't plan. I don't do a lot of planning in my life. I just say, right, we're going to do this, and then spirit go, oh, it'll be fine. And I'm like, some days I go, oh, we really should write down what we're going to do. No, it'll be fine. So I'm like, okay. And I've just learned to trust that it will be fine. And we sit down to do something, and I'll go, right, what are we doing then? Please bring me something, because otherwise I'm going to look like a complete fool sat here in front of all these people with nothing to actually do. And we were just getting, it was about an hour before we sat down to do this one night, and I was like, right, come on, what are we doing tonight? And this guy, this gentleman called Frank, just literally walked into my space. Just walked in. He's a tall man. He's a teacher, and he teaches me to teach them. And he has basically taken over my spiritual development. It's bizarre for me, because it just makes me you're like a little bit like, oh my God, this is actually happening. And I can't honestly believe how the people in that group they're now giving each other messages from spirit. I don't even know how I'm doing it. I just don't even know. It amazes me, honestly, because I would always look at other mediums and go, how can you teach somebody to be a medium? Like, I just don't get it. How can you do that? And now I'm doing it, and I don't even know how, because I'm listening to Frank, because Frank is my guide who has gone, we're teaching the people because the people need to be taught. I'm like, okay then.
Do you think, and this is a bit of a humding of a question, in light of recent worldwide events, that there has been a more of an awakening?
Yes, I do. 100%.
And what impacts do you think that's going to have? Ooh. Get Frank in. Get Frank to answer that one.
Oh, well, I know we've had a lot of loss. There's been a lot of devastation, but there have been big changes happening in the world, and Mother Nature's been tidying up. And I believe everything happens for a reason. You know, what's happened in our world is for a reason. And the people that are awakening. You know, a lot of them are children too. There are a lot of, like, the next generation coming up. These are the people that are gonna, you know, not necessarily change our world, but change our what was the word I'm looking for? Like, our communication with each other, the way that we treat each other, the way that our awareness. You know, look at all the people that have gone, oh, I need to meditate. I'm going to start getting focused. I'm going to start being more positive. I'm going to start this, and this. Lots of those. I've met so many of those people over lockdown. I need to do your meditation. I need to do this. I'm suddenly, you know, feeling really aware or really upset, or, you know, all the people that are suddenly going, God, blimey, what's happening with the moon? I'm suddenly feeling really, really aware of my emotions. Why is that? You know, I think it's a good thing. It's all for a reason. The universe has reasons for everything. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Boys?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah. It's everything.
You better.
Everything does happen for a reason. I believe that. You know, and I also believe if you've got a positive outlook on things, then you're going to get positive back. When you're a negative person and you put negative things out, you get negative back. So I'm very much, I hold that belief. And if someone does something negative to you, you know, it's going to come around to them 10 times as worse. You know, in karma form.
Like, doesn't it? Like a
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, I do often, you know, I do believe that, and I practice that.
I think what we've actually been through, it can't be for nothing. I mean, you know, the last year, you know, it can't be for nothing. I just believe there must be something behind it.
Yeah.
So
it's to get rid of the flat earthers, isn't it?
Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah.
On that note,
joking, everybody, joking.
On that note, we are going to take a quick break. We're going to come back after the break and go down the more spiritual learning kind of route. So join us right after this.
Hello, Harry Price here. If there's nothing me and my friends enjoy more here on the other side, it is to sit back and relax and listen to the Paranormal Concept Show right here on the PAUK radio network, broadcasting a plethora of interesting and informative content for all your paranormal needs. Find them across social media to keep up to date with forthcoming shows and all their other adventures. Hello, is there anybody there?
And welcome back to the Paranormal Concept Show, exclusive to the Paranormal UK radio network. Tonight in the studio, we have fantastic Clare Hinks, psychic medium. And before the break, we were discussing more of the psychic medium side of things, but that's not the only string to Clare's bow. And he said Clink's bow there. Clare's bow. Clare, you run a look, we spoke briefly before the break about your group, your development group that you do. Now, you talked about Frank. You talked about he's basically stepped forward and is teaching the group from you. But how, not everybody is cut out to be a psychic medium, are they?
No. No, I don't think so. I think you have to. I think we all have something in us, put it that way, but we're not all in tune with that, and we haven't all got that want. We don't all want to be a psychic medium. If you don't want to be a psychic medium, then you're not going to be open to the possibility that you might be able to tune into spirit, are you?
Oh no, I turned around right at the beginning of my journey with spirit and said I do not want to be platform psychic medium. I don't want to be healer. I don't want to be a healer. I don't want to be a psychic medium. That's it. They're my two hard limits, as it were. And you've seen the journey that I've taken and the routes that's led me. And it's funny how spirit leads you, isn't it? And that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, it is funny because I had a similar conversation. I said, okay. Once I went to see a medium and she told me that I'd be a platform. She said, you'll be doing this. You'll be a platform medium. And I was like, no, I won't. No, thanks. Now look at me.
And now you are.
And here I am. But I forgot, you just go and you have the message and whatever, and you forget about it. And then years later, your journey is progressing and you suddenly go, oh, well, how has this happened? Because obviously I'm meant to be doing this and this is where it's leading me. So even though I'd gone, nah, there must have been a little part of me that actually thought, ooh, I'd quite like to do it. I do want to do it, really. I do want to do it. I'm just scared. That's the thing that's stopping me. I'm just scared. And as I've gone on, I was going to say something then and it's gone right out of my head. I forgot where I was going. Give me a moment. Go back to your thing. I forgot where I was going. It's past my bedtime.
I think it was like at the point of like, at the end of the day, that's the journey that it took you, isn't it, into psychic mediums? And like you say, it's your own fear, isn't it, that stops you sometimes from doing it?
Yeah.
From taking that step.
Yeah. I did say, that's where I was going with it. I did say to Spirit, I'll do it in my own time. So we have to go slow, So I'd say I'll do a group of people. So I would do started off by doing like 3 people in a group, and then we went up to 5 people in a group, and then it would, and so it's gradually grown, and now I can do a hall of people, and it's fine, so it's just gradually grown. And then I get impatient and I had this epiphany about 12 months ago before lockdown. I had this epiphany one day. I was like, God, I just want this to happen. Why, what's happening? Why is it going so slowly? Because I just want to be doing this all the time. And then I thought, but I told them that I wanted to go slow, so we're going slow. That's why we're going slow. So as soon as I changed that, as soon as I made that adjustment to okay, so we can speed this up a bit now. I feel a bit braver now. I'm happy to embrace this now. And then lockdown happened, and it's just sort of snowballed.
It put you in the position, in the right place at the right time for your progression to be able to embrace it in a full-time capacity, effectively.
Yes, exactly.
So lockdown was actually a positive for you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I didn't mind lockdown at all. The sun was shining. It was like having a holiday. It was great. It was a working holiday. It was great.
Having said that, not everybody has embraced that period of time in the best way possible. And a lot of people stepped forward because they were having mental well-being issues, weren't they, really? That's why people start reaching out for something different, something to help explain how they're feeling. And that awakening often starts with a mental anguish of some form, doesn't it?
Yeah. People start to feel an awareness, or they start to feel a negativity that, and it might be in the form of anxiety, or it might be depression, or, it might just be tiredness. They can't see the positive, but they notice that they're feeling it. So they look for a way to, what can I do about this? And I found that last year, I obviously always done a little bit of the meditation. We used to have meditation in my group, etc. But I realised that actually people needed and were looking for it more so. So I created a group, and people I think I did like a week. It was like a week's course. It was just, just a meditation every day. And we went through, the importance of a fun daily practice or a good daily practice that made you feel better. And, it had the tools in it, such as journaling and gratitude and having some self-love and all of those things. And the people in that group that started in that group are still with me today. I'll say like 18 months, 14 months later.
Mm-hmm.
So, they got so much from it. And it became pretty obvious to me that there were a lot of people, a lot of people really struggled, haven't they, with being in lockdown, being stuck at home. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people just don't know if they even want their jobs. There's so much uncertainty and so much change where we didn't really know what was out of our control. And I think it just affected people in all sorts of ways. So the mindfulness has become a huge part of what I deliver as a result.
Which is a bit of a strange turn of events, considering you're a psychic medium. You're almost a life coach.
Yeah. Yes and no. When I was trying to get more clarity and be clearer and have a better spirit connection and all of those things, my guides used to say to me, I'd say, well, how can I do this? How can I make this better? I want this to be better. And they would say, meditate more. That's all. That's the only message, meditate more. And I'd say, oh, all right then. And then I didn't, because I never had time, or there was always something going on, or, I had to get tea or hoover or go to work, or there was never time. I never made time. And then one of my guides, Joseph, I should finish this book. I started writing a book called Joseph's Wisdom, because he would give me like a one-liner every day, and I was like, oh, this needs to be in a book. People can love this. Joseph's Wisdom. Oh my God. And one of the things that he said to me was, the more we make time, the more time we make.
Mm.
The more we make time, the more time we make. And the more you say it, the more sense it makes. The more we make time, the more time we make. And so I kind of used that when I was talking to people, and they were like, oh yeah. And then I realized that actually I get loads from meditation. It's not just about, it's absolutely made my connection with spirit so much better. Absolutely, because it stills my mind. And it gives me, it gets rid of the busy so that I can hear clearly. So it's really good. But, not everybody obviously wants their mind to stop so they can hear spirit clearly. They just want to get the busy. They just want to go, God, I need to relax. I need to go to bed and not have this, all this stuff going around in my head. So I don't choose where I am. I am guided to where I am. I'm spirit led with everything that I do. I've ended up here talking to you because that's what's on the journey. That's the connection. Kerry, do you remember do you remember how we met?
I interviewed you.
Yes, but do you remember the first time we spoke? So Ashley sent me a message and said, oh, this lady's going to message you. she's on the radio, and he totally bigged you up, and I was absolutely crapping myself. I'd never been on the radio, I'd never been interviewed, and I was like, oh my god, this is huge. Do you remember? I was actually at my grand's when we spoke the first time, bless her, and I was like a nervous wreck. But when I look back at that and the friendship that's come from that first meeting, and how, I wouldn't not have done any of that stuff. It's been amazing. It's all part of the journey. We learn all the way along. We're taking on things to make the next bit better, or you're always learning something to pass on to somebody else, or to make your now or your next bit even better. It's I keep saying I'm going to write a course called The Stepping Stone Effect because our life, our journey is a series of stepping stones, and the more I think about it, the more clear it seems to be. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know that. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So for these people that are, in my tribe, for want of another word, but the people that are in my community and those people that are connected to those people, they need something. They need that meditation, or they need to know that they can have faith in themselves, or they need to know that if they just do a little bit of gratitude every day, actually that can actually change their life, even if they just did it twice a day. Just for some people, it's the tiniest thing, and I just find it just so lovely to deliver. I don't even know how I ended up delivering it. I just am.
So let's talk gratitude, because I think that's because I don't know about you, but I noticed that that's one thing that people find hard, particularly on certain times of their life. Being grateful for something is, you're not, because it's a crappy time. Do you know what I mean? This is not a positive time. I'm not going to be grateful for something. But I always said you can always find something small to be grateful for on that day.
Yeah.
And it's recognizing that.
Yeah. There's always something to be grateful for. There is always someone worse off. And that's not always there's always someone worse off than you. And there is always something, even if it's just, I've got a car outside, or I don't know,
you've actually woken up that day,
or you've woken up that day, or thank God for my fags, thank God for the kettle. I've got up in the morning and gone, oh God, thank God I've got a cup of tea, because nothing else feels good. It's just finding. Not recently, I should add. I haven't felt that for a long time. But we've all had bad days. We've all woken up and gone, I don't feel great.
What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of this? What's the it's humdrum, it's boring, it's traumatic.
When you start expressing three things, one of the things I do with people is I say, right, just focus on three things in the morning and three things in the evening. And if you've got children, sit at the table and do it over breakfast or dinner, because children always see the good in things. They always want to tell you what they feel grateful for. They always want to, no matter how old they are, they always want to tell you. We have got in our house, we made, Phoebe is only 9, so last year we made a gratitude board, and we stuck it up in the kitchen. We coloured it all in, and she's cut out like all these little shapes like clouds and triangles and hearts and things. We stick them around the edge of the board, and then we take off, we choose a shape, and then we write down 3 things on the shape that we feel grateful for that day, and we stick it on the board. And last year we haven't, the older ones, the boys haven't done it quite so much, but last year I got them all doing it. We went through a stage where I was really doing it with everybody, everyone I came into contact with. What are you grateful for?
Write it on the board now.
Yeah, put it on the board now. And it was so funny to watch, because like even my big boys would in the end they were just taking the thing off and just doing it, and I would come in the kitchen and I would look on the board and think, oh, who's written that? Somebody's written it. Somebody would have written, oh, my cup of coffee, or the fact that the sun's shining, or and the things they were being grateful for were things that were so simple. The fact that the sun was shining, they were just noticing. The more that you do it, the more you notice, and it all comes back to unconditional love, because if you can love, it starts with yourself. If you love yourself, it's easy to love everything. You can, you love the countryside, you love the sunshine, you love your friends, you love your family, you love your cup of tea, you love your crystals, whatever it is. It's all about love. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it does. I was saying this to somebody the other day. I was like, I know I sound like I'm floating around on clouds and rainbows, but I'm floating around on clouds and rainbows because I feel like I love my life, because I've embraced everything good about it. I love, I try to not let other people's judgments and worries and, judgments of me affect me. And I just focus on what makes me feel good. I focus on those 3 things in the morning and those 3 things in the evening, and that starts me off. If you start to go down that spiral, the Care Bear stare.
Yeah. They fly down clouds, don't they? They drive them around.
Yeah, I'm totally a Clare Bear. A Clare Bear. I'm a Clare
Bear. Now, for some people, spiritual work isn't all rainbows and sunshine. It can be quite a messy business, can't it?
Oh, yeah, it can be. Yeah, it's not an easy journey, the spiritual one, is it?
No. How do you help people through that period? Because it's, you go through times where you're so loved up with it and so in tune with it and so working fantastically. And then all of a sudden, like a big trumper truck of crap comes along and dumps it all on you. And it's part of your evolution and your progress that you need to go through that so you can then progress and ascend to the next level for you in your spiritual way. So that is part of the spiritual journey. So when you're going through that with your clients, that's not the right word, because they become more than clients, don't they? They become friends when you're working in this way, because you get to know people intimately and you're helping them progress, in an emotional and mental way. And it's so much more than the word client. How do you help them through that period of time? Because that's hard, isn't it? That can be very hard.
Do you know what I've learned actually is that the best way, and a lot of the things that we have to learn when we're on this journey is about what's going on inside us. So I've done quite a bit of inner child work with several people, because so I work intuitively, as you guys know. So when I'm working with a person, and this is where I ended up doing a bit of coaching as well, is that I had a lovely lady, and she was exactly what you said. She had a dump load on her. She was trying to embrace the spiritual journey, and she started meditating, and she was suddenly like, just wanting to do everything, auras, everything. The spiritual umbrella is massive, isn't it? So she was just getting into everything. And every time she meditated, she sobbed. She just couldn't stop it. She just absolutely howled every time. It was like an emotion that was just like releasing. And she came to me and had some one-to-one like coaching, and we worked through her self-confidence. So what I've realized is that when we're trying to learn about everything spiritual, we're trying to go through our spiritual how would you let's think of it like a lesson, like modules, right? So each thing that you've got to learn is like a module. But if you haven't got all the information, or you're missing pages of the book, and you can't go complete the module if you haven't got all the information. I don't even know where this is coming from. This is Frank.
That's what I like. Good old Frank. Come on, Frank. Teach us. No, no, I totally agree. Yeah, we go with the module analogy, because that's a really good analogy.
Yeah. So if you haven't got all the information, it's like, if you think of it like that, in that if you've got all this stuff inside you, right? So say something happened to you, I don't know, it really bashed the confidence out of you when you were a kid, for example, and you thought you got over it, but actually things like that stay inside us. We hold on to it. We hold on to all that rubbish, regardless of what we think. We don't always let go of it. So when we get to like 49 and we're still trying to, move forward in our life, we can't, because we've still got all of this stuff that people put upon us when we were a kid, saying, you'll never achieve that, you can't do that, you can't do that. It blocks you. It's a blockage. So actually it's stopping you in more ways than you think, because until you're completely whole with yourself, your spiritual development is going to be tricky. It's going to be hard to move forward with ease until you've worked on yourself. You've got to do the self-work as well. it's easy to learn how to tap into your intuition, and it's easy to learn how to, you know, use a deck of cards and do psychometry and all of those things. But you're never going to be completely, you're never going to find it completely easy if you haven't done the work on yourself as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for me it does. Yeah, totally. Boys,
Yeah.
did that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, it's almost like you've got to be comfortable with yourself before you can move forward.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what I've learned. I've learned that.
Yeah, and it isn't just being spiritual either. It's just in general everyday life as well. Because they say, like with single people, you know, you've got to love yourself before you can allow someone else to love you. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You've got to be
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, before you can enter into a healthy
Oh,
relationship.
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, you have to, you know, you have to know your boundaries, and you have to know what your, you know, what makes you tick. You could have the most fantastic person in the world come into your life, but for some reason it just isn't going to suit you long term. So that isn't going to be right. That's not going to resonate properly with you, because that's not part of you. Do you know what I mean? So it's finding that, and that's the hardest part of spiritual practice, is that self-awareness, that self-knowledge. Know yourself.
Yeah. Exactly.
Even God said that, know thyself. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
It is literally you've got to be yourself, essentially, just to carry on. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And look, you know, going back to Frank's analogy of like modules, you know,
The spiritual stuff, the modules, to embrace all of the things around you that's on your journey, to embrace them with compassion and awareness and, you know, confidence. You've got to be all of those things in your shell, in yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to be aware of them. You've got to work on them. You've got to be like, you know what, you've got to look in the mirror and go, I love you. I love me. You know, because if you don't love yourself, the spiritual journey is going to throw you crap, because you're attracting crap. Because you're putting out crap. You're not putting out the I love you. I'm happy with my life. Like, I'm happy with you. I look in the mirror and go, you know, this is good. I like what I see, because it makes you feel better. If you look in the mirror and go, oh, I don't really like what I see. You know, I feel really like despondent, and I can't, you know, I really want to do that, but I probably won't be able to. Then what are you going to attract? What are you going to receive?
Yeah.
What are you going to see everywhere you look? I want to do that, but I can't.
The world is a mirror, isn't it?
And as I said earlier, it's almost like what you put out, you're going to get back. So if you're very much like that, you're going to get that back.
Yeah.
Because that's your perception of it.
Yeah.
So the world is a mirror to what you are feeling inside. So as within, it, you know, as within is as without. Do you know what I mean? It's that saying. Funny enough, the themes running through today's show is absolutely incredibly weird, because a lot of these themes I've actually been writing about today, which is funny.
Synchronicity, you know, that is.
Yeah, you even mentioned Noah earlier. Which is something we've been writing about recently. But the mirror is an actual physical mirror is actually a good place to start, because you start reflecting to yourself, and you believe it. You've got to believe it. You can't just look in the mirror and lie to yourself. You look in the mirror and you truly embrace. I really love that about myself. It doesn't have to be physical appearance. It has to be, I love how I dealt with that, or I love how I dealt with that customer at work, or whatever that is. It's a love vibration you're giving yourself in the mirror. And if you give yourself that in the mirror, you're going to reflect that out in the world. And that is the essential part of it, isn't it, Claire?
Definitely. And definitely. I ran a course called Perfectly You last year. And it was basically everything you've just said. You know, it was about letting go of your inner child rubbish. We did visualizations where, you know, we saw the little person, and we took away all the rubbish that we were carrying around, and we really looked at feeling good with the person in the mirror. And it was amazing, and people were leaving there going, oh, that's really good. I felt really good now. And what it brought up for people as well. Like doing inner child work, people were sobbing. I was really shocked at how it,
I was
how it
going to ask
affected
this: how
people.
often people cry when you're doing
Yeah,
this kind
people
of work
cry.
with them?
Yeah, yeah, people do cry. I ran a 6-week course, which was really out of my comfort zone. Last summer, and I did a Zoom every day for 6 weeks. I was like right in there, really out of my comfort zone. Again, I had like a list of things we were going to do each week, and then I would just sit down and go, right. I don't even know how. People just know me, and they just go, yeah, we're doing it. It's great. Go for it. So it's lovely. When we got to the end of that course, this 6-week course, we did a lot of work. We did decluttering. We worked a lot around energy, and just being aware. We did connecting with our spirit guides, our animals, you name it. We did it. And when we got to the end of that, everybody went, what are we going to do now? Like, what are we going to do without this course? Because they'd all got used to being there every day with each other for 6 weeks. So I created the Perfect Membership, which basically gives them all of that every day, forever. so it brought everybody together. And by the time we got to the end of the course, which was what I was getting to, I diverse. Everybody was feeling like they'd gained some control, like they'd learnt some tools to help them move forward, and that they were like, I actually do love myself. I have got things to be grateful for. I have got a really good daily practice. I can continue to do that. I can write all these things down, and then I know that I'm okay. Some people just need like the tools.
Yeah.
And so that I do that. I give people the tools to have a good daily practice, and it's really not complicated. It's not, and the support.
Now, this course, a very intense 6 weeks course, has been evolved.
It was.
It's been evolved, hasn't it? If people are interested in being part of the Perfect family, how can they be involved now?
So the course was called Perfect. And so what happened was, when we got to the end, everyone went, oh, what am I going to do without Perfect? I don't know what I'm going to do. I need something. So the membership was born. So the Perfect membership was born. And I launched that in September last year. What that includes is actually, currently it's a Facebook membership. So it's a group on Facebook, community on Facebook. I'm hoping to find it a platform in the near future so that it's easier to, so that I don't like to have everything in one place, like on Facebook. And if you don't own it, do you? If it's on Facebook, so it's a little bit, they could just whip it away.
Yeah.
But the Perfect membership includes units of self-learning. So every month we have a theme. So we've had spirit animals, we've had angels, connecting with your guardian angel. We've had this month just gone, we've had healing, and we've also had, obviously it's been summer solstice, so we focused on setting our intentions, using our crystals. I did a summer solstice ritual last night, which was alive on the group, and everybody came and we all did our ritual together. They had a workbook to go by. So I really try and fill those units with as much information as I can find. I openly say that I don't know everything, but I try to put as much info in there as I can. Or if anyone's got a question and I don't know the answer, I find out for them. I'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Zoom rooms every month, which we have 2 Zoom rooms every month. So I have guests into the Zoom room, which, Kerry, you have been part of on a couple of occasions now.
Yeah,
you?
I have. They're great. I really enjoy them. And I like the question factor as well, the fact that it's an open forum. So as you're going through and passing forward the knowledge that you have, people can ask anything. I like that format. Yeah.
I really want it to be a place where you know, everyone feels like it's home. Everyone can, you know, speak. So when we come to those Zoom rooms, everybody's there together. Obviously, it's a conversation that happens between me and you, between me and the guest. But the people that are there only have to raise their hand. They can ask a question. They're involved. So it's, you know, it's their place as well. We have daily cards, so or inspiration or quotes. So something goes in every single day, every morning. We have a workshop once a month. So this month was a healing workshop. So we talked about, this is another thing, I was actually planning to bring to that workshop loads of information about different types of healing. And when I sat down to do it, I was like, nope, we're not doing that.
Kerry does that to us.
Well, yeah.
I wanted to do a show on the Tree of Life. Kerry started the research. She's like, no, I'm doing this.
Last day, oh no. So what it turned into was actually healing yourself. It was really interesting because it went into self-healing.
Yeah.
And then we ended up doing this lovely visualization. And then we did some absent healing. So we sent healing out to where it needed to go as well. And that was really lovely. So we do something every month. Every month there's a workshop. Every month there's mentoring. I go in there once a month and I do like an hour's mentoring. So we just have a good old chinwag about everything that's going on. If anyone's got any questions, if I've got a specific something that I want to talk about, we talk about that. And as well as that, there's the meditation and mindfulness group, which runs alongside it. So every morning at 7 a.m. I'm in there with a meditation to help you get your day started. Plus there's loads of resources and links and goodness knows what else. So there's loads in there.
Brilliant.
And that's the perfect membership, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and it is well worth it. And I say, I've been part of that journey, a small part of that journey, and it is like a family. You know, when you enter the room, and you never felt like it was you know, like under the spotlight kind of moment. It was very much open forum, and people were very giving and receiving. It was just a fantastic workshop to be involved in. So thank you for involving me in that, because it was just a fantastic experience for me. And for somebody who can do this without an active audience per se, finds talking to people's faces very daunting.
Out your comfort zone, Missy. Out your comfort zone.
Part of my own evolution, right?
Yeah.
It's actually part of my evolution. So, you know, I gained out of it as much as people gained from my knowledge. So it's fantastic. So if you want to be part of it, seek out Clare Hinks Perfect Membership, and she'll put you in the right direction for that. The other group you run is Spiritual Kids, isn't it?
Yes. Spiritual Kids. Yeah, go on. What you were going to speak? Go on.
Because this is another facet. You know, you've said it's going to come from the children, and it is always the children that lead the way, believe it or not, even though they're little monkeys half the time. You don't always listen to them. I started my crystal journey because of my son, and it was a flyaway comment. And if he hadn't have said what he said, I would never have looked at crystals in the way I did, which led me down the journey that I'm on. So kids definitely lead the way. And do you not think they need the emotional and spiritual support?
Absolutely. Which is why in September I'm actually launching Spiritual Kids officially. This is a bit of an announcement, really. Actually, a bit scared now. Very excited. I'm excited though. So Spiritual Kids is a place that I've created because there was nowhere when I was, as I said earlier, there was nowhere when I was a kid that I could go to just find stuff out. You know, if I wanted to know something, I'm feeling this, or I'm seeing, or I went to that place and I saw what looked like an apparition, and what do I do? And I'm scared. And, you know, what crystals could I use? And there was none of that information. I had to seek it all out. So what I wanted to do was, what I was inspired to do, was to create this spiritual kids space. So there's a group on Facebook. Admittedly, there's not an awful lot in it yet. It's got quite a few members now, over 100 members, which is brilliant. But I'm going to officially start working with it in September, because I'm taking the meditation and mindfulness part of that into school. So I've actually got a nursery. I'm going into a preschool for the first half of the autumn term once a week with some children's meditation and mindfulness, and hopefully into a primary school as well. So I'm hoping to build it in more ways and extend it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that certainly is a place that I certainly feel that, you know, particularly mindfulness, that is the bit of like the buzzword at the moment, isn't it? I mean, everyone's doing it. And you've got to try and sort of get it in people young, haven't you?
Yeah, it's so important. The issues that are out there today, when we was talking to, going back to Andy Horner, when we interviewed him, he was advocating men's mental well-being, men's mental health well-being. This was a couple of years ago now, because the suicide rate in young men was actually astronomical and wasn't being highlighted, and that men were having trouble with that. If we can catch people young, if we can train them to be mindful and how to deal with and process what you go through in today's lifestyle and you know, situations that come up, if you can help them and give them the tools at a young age, that is invaluable for the rest of their life.
And it does seem to be sort of taken seriously by sort of schools, like as Claire, you were saying. I mean, you are actually looking at going into primary and secondary schools.
I've been talking to the head of my daughter's school, who's been absolutely amazing. She's, you know, been really supportive. So I'm hoping to go in there before they break up for the summer holidays and just kind of do like a little trial run and see. But we're looking at aiming from sort of the year 3 upwards, like the top end of, you know, the key stage 2 then to begin with. Having said that, I'm actually going into preschool, nursery, so it'll be preschool age as well, to see how that goes. So I'm really looking forward to that, and it's so important. And to me, it's a big part. It's a part of the spiritual journey, and it doesn't, just because you say the word spiritual doesn't mean that you need to be talking to dead people. You know, spiritual.
No, I mean,
it's mind, body, soul, isn't it? You know, it's just being happy in your spirit. And if you're not happy in your spirit, you're not happy. So, you know, our children need to be happy. And we've been through so much. They've been through, you know, they've all been home, and some of them have suffered really badly with anxiety about going back to school and all sorts of things. So I don't really even know yet. I know how it's going to work, but I'm spirit led, so I'm kind of waiting for I can feel it evolving around me, and I don't even know how. It's hard to explain. It's like they're preparing it. Like when I say my guides, spirit, they're preparing it. So we're putting the foundation in place at the moment, and then in September, look out, because Spiritual Kids is about.
I'll be interested to see how that actually goes for you, Claire. I mean, certainly.
Yeah. I definitely think that's such a worthwhile thing to do. I can't think of anything better, quite frankly, to give kids tools so they can cope with life.
Hoping to so that's just one. Like Spiritual Kids is got a couple of aspects to it. So there's a meditation and the mindfulness, and then obviously there's the other support for children or young people, and even parents or carers that are, you know, experiencing spooky, for want of another word, having spooky experiences, that don't know what to do, that don't know how to ground themselves, that don't know about protecting themselves, that don't know that they can actually tell spirit, no, I'm going to sleep.
Yes.
You know, that they're just being scared, because our children, our kids, these people, these young people don't realize that when they're tuning in, they're going to bed with their light on, their spiritual light is on, spirit are going to go, oh, that light's on, I go.
Yeah. No, that's so true.
Honestly, it's as simple as that. So all
Yeah.
they need is boundaries, or they need to know that their parents need to know, actually, I can cleanse this room, I can get rid of this. This can feel better. You know, there are things that we can do to make this feel better. So there are other aspects to it that I'm really going to work on, you know, and I'm hoping to run workshops, and it's really something that I want to grow and develop. So yeah, watch this space.
Fantastic. In amongst all of this, growing for other people and passing on that knowledge and that information for other people to cope, how do you cope with the ups and downs?
I sleep well. I like bed. I get into bed at night and go, oh, I love you, bed. And my husband goes, oh, for goodness sake. I'm like, no, I actually love my bed. It's my best friend. No, I cope. I cope okay. I'm just, you know, I'm at a stage, thankfully, in my life where I love what I do, and I have really good balance. So, and we've got a lot as a family. We've got quite a lot on our plate. We've got, other commitments, and there's a lot going on. Right, Rich works extremely hard, and we've got a lot of things to sort of tidy up in our lives. We've got a house that we're trying to renovate, and that's not even ours to live in. It's just there's lots of extra things that we've got to find time to do. But I feel I've got a really good balance, because I get up in the morning and I've got time to do that meditation now. And my children have all kind of, at the moment, they've all got their slot. So Phoebe goes to school, William's got a job now, so he goes to work, and Adam is just, being 16 until he goes back.
Yeah, he's in his room and
He's
doesn't
kind
come
of just
out.
like, being a slob.
I've got one of those.
Although he has been to work today with his dad, so they have all got everything feels quite balanced and good. So and I've just kind of manifested horses back into my life, so I go riding as well, and I find that's really good for my soul. So I have my ways of soothing myself, I guess. And that's important.
Which is, it is important to have space for yourself in amongst all of this giving that you're doing. Let's talk signs from a spirit. Let's go down that route a little bit, because not only it's not everybody can connect in and listen to their loved ones that have passed, but they will make themselves known around you, won't they? When you're working and becoming more mindful and working in that way, they do let themselves know. What sort of signs can you kind of expect? Well, I have to say, you don't expect the unexpected, I think is the expression, isn't it, on this one?
Yeah. Familiar signs might be a little visit from a robin or a blackbird. Those come up for me a lot. You might find that your awareness tunes you into the song on the radio. You might be thinking of your dad or something, and then the song will come on the radio and the words will be just so, those are signs that you tune into without really thinking about it. Butterflies when I say butterflies, you might not see a butterfly for months and months and months, and then in the middle of winter a butterfly might suddenly land on your curtain, and you're like, where on earth did that come from? That's a sign. That's like that's a sign, especially if you can associate it to, like, it was Granny's anniversary, or it's her birthday, or I really miss her, or it's really something happening in your life, and these signs show up. Often I say to people, you know, they're connecting you with rainbows. And I say rainbows don't just mean rainbows in the sky. Rainbows might show up in a magazine, or they might shine through the window, or, you know, catch the light on your glasses. You just don't know where it's going to show up, but it will show up. And when you see the signs, you cannot stop seeing the signs. They show up everywhere.
Yep.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do, in the most unexpected way. I found that they would turn up in the most unexpected way. I was having a conversation with a shaman friend of mine in the garden, and I was berating spirit for some reason or other at the time. I can't even remember now what they'd done, but they'd done something that annoyed me, and I was moaning about them. And one thing I was actually saying, and I remember this clearly, because I was going, you know what? Why can't they give a definitive sign? It's always a wishy-washy sign, a sign where you could probably explain it away if you really wanted to, and blah, blah, blah. I was going off and off and off on this one. She was laughing her head off. And then literally, as I'm going off, this butterfly, right, come and literally landed on my hand. Yeah. And she just cracked up. She went, God, how many years have you been on this planet, and how many times has that happened to you? And I was like, because I don't really like them. So I'm like, oh my God, it's a butterfly. And she was like, and it would not move. I was waving my hand and it was on my hand. And she was going, of all the times in all the place, how many times has that happened to you? I said, it's never happened to me. I've never had a butterfly land on me. And she goes, and the day you're moaning about spirit not sending you a definite sign, she goes, you get one on your hand, you can't move it.
Yeah.
Like it is. And I went,
if you slapped it one.
And I went, oh yeah. And the minute I acknowledged, it went.
Yeah. I was dragonflies is a bit of a thing for me. So dragonfly is my spiritual thing. If you've seen my logo, you know that the sign is my dragonfly. And I've been a bit nervous horse riding. I've been getting back into horse riding, and the person that I was riding with said, oh, let's go on this adventure. And this is last week. We took the horses in a river, and the river was deep. And I was like, absolutely wetting myself. I was like, no, I can't do it. She's like, yeah, come on. And this horse, honestly, the water was up to the tops of its legs and my boot got wet. And as we turned around to come back along the river, I just had to stop because there was all these dragonflies just flying everywhere, bright blue dragonflies. And one of them just flew over and it just landed on the horse's neck, and it just sat there as though it was looking at me. And I was just like, okay, we're good. Keep going. You know.
See, for me, I wouldn't class. I because I'm quite skeptical about this sort of stuff anyway. But that to me, because you're in the environment where you would find a dragonfly anyway, I wouldn't have classed that as a sign of anything. Even with the robin, you know, I don't understand how a creature like the robin could become a sign of spirit. I've seen loads, but that don't mean to say that spirits visited me loads.
I think the reason that I believe that it was a sign with the dragonflies was because I was in the environment where you potentially would see dragonflies, but it was the furthest thing from my mind. I wasn't looking for them. I just happened to look at the hedge and was like, oh my God, look at all the dragons. Because I was caught up in my worry about what I was doing. And then this dragonfly just flew over. They were like a herd of dragonflies, all like clumped together, flying around.
Stampede.
Yeah, whatever the collective noun for dragonflies is.
This one random dragonfly just flew over and landed on us, and I was like, and that to me, that's what made it a sign for me.
Yeah.
Signs are very personal.
It depends where your brain is at. I mean, not you're like my husband would probably say the same thing. He'd be like, yeah, maybe, whatever. You know,
it's a very big coincidence almost. That's I think what I can't get past.
Oh no, you used the coincidence word.
Yeah.
Carl Jung once stated there is no such thing as coincidence.
I agree. I always think everything happens for a reason and nothing's coincidental. That's
it just must have been bored of flying that day and just see your.
Okay, yeah,
Oh,
okay. We're
lady.
never going to convince him, except this is the bloke that's just done his meditation, has embraced crystals in a way that I never, ever would have thought this man would have been. To the point, Claire, where I've got a box of crystals that are going with us to give to him. He has this collection he's now gathered. One of them is just going to go bang and wake him up to how they work. And then that's it. He's going to be
Yeah,
awake
but
'cause he's already got the
I
collection.
just think, like for sign, it's got. For me, it's got to be something much more amazing than a feather floating through the window, or a dragonfly, or robin, or what. It's just got to be big.
It's when they act out of character.
Those are the things.
Yeah.
Those are the signs that are easy to deliver. So if you're one of the people that need something else, you need to ask for it.
Mm.
Flamingo.
Give
Claire,
me a
flamingo.
Yeah, flamingo.
Yeah, that's it. If a flamingo flew into the window now, I believe.
But right, both me and Claire one night we've been told we'd done I can't even remember who it was with. We had done an interview with somebody, and she was like, and we were talking about signs. It might have been Bear actually.
Mm.
Oh, I can't remember who it was.
I can't remember.
But we were talking about signs, and she said, right, ask for a definitive sign. She said, pick something, ask for a definitive sign. Now Claire picked a flamingo, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
No.
Oh, okay.
Good start.
This is like quite a few years ago. I'm going back now. Where Claire lives, which is down south, Somerset, Cornwall area, Cornwall area, Cornwall. I should know that by now.
It's known for his flamingos.
The chance of coming across a flamingo, unless you go to a zoo, is minuscule. It's not going to happen, is it?
No, that's yeah.
Right. So she called out. She wanted this sign for a flamingo. Right. Nothing. Now this was winter, so not even the magazines and stuff like that are going to be putting flamingos in as part of the summer stock and stuff like that. Anyway, so this was in the depth of winter. She'd asked specifically for this sign. I love the fact that I know your life better than you do. Anyway, one day she got this magazine through the door, and the way it fell as it had come through the door, it fell open at a page, and on the page was like a flamingo.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm delivering you this sign of a goddamn flamingo, like this. Do you know what I mean? It was like so bizarre of how that sign happened.
And that's happened more than once. I've asked for the flamingo lots of times, and it shows up in such random places. It's really weird.
And it's not really a sign. To be fair, in the UK,
manifesting sign flamingo. I'm like, right, I'm trying to, I'm manifesting this. So give me the sign. I want my flamingo, and then I wait for it. The trick is to not obsess about it.
Yeah. You put it out there, and then you let it go, and then then it will happen.
I know how it happens, because when we was on the previous radio network, one of the presenters was always banging on about 222. The second he mentioned it, we would see it everywhere, and it'd be like on Facebook posts, 222 views, or and then at the bottom of the page it'd be 222 when we noticed it, and and things like that. So I get the signs, but yeah, for me it's just got to be a bit more slap me in the face. Nice wad of 50 pound notes, do.
That's not how it works, sweetie.
That's not, yeah.
I don't want a flamingo. I want that.
That's not how it works.
Well, if there's a choice, I'll have that too.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I mean, no one would turn down that sign. But on the same score,
I mean, Claire got a flamingo when she asked for it, so by rights it should happen.
Knowing you're like Paul, you'll get a magazine through the door that falls open at a page with £50,000 written on it.
No, it's got to be.
Careful what you ask for, because the universe is a fickle child.
I've got to spend it.
Claire, where can people find you, darling? Give a shout out to all your pages and your websites and everything.
So they can find me at Clare Hinks.
Claire?
put together.
Oh, Claire, what happened there?
Oh, am I here?
Yes,
You
now say it
rock.
again.
You've got to say it again, Claire. Here.
I said I am having a website built currently. So it will be clarehinksmedium.com. You can go there and have a look and it will say that it's being built.
Ooh.
So it's very exciting. Yeah, and those are my places. You can email me at info@clarehinksmedium.com. Yeah, or messenger me or WhatsApp me or I'm in all of those places.
Find her on Facebook, people. Join the groups. Definitely worth it. You get access to so much information for your own progression, your own spiritual journey. And it's absolutely phenomenal what Claire puts out there. And I don't say that lightly, people. I really don't. There's very few mediums in this world that I would actually advocate for. And Claire is one of those for what it's worth. Guys, any last words?
No, I've already covered the book at the beginning of the show. We've got a new blog out on the website as well, which is paranormalconcept.com.
What's that about?
Richard, over to you because it's your blog.
Oh, it's about the hunt for Noah's Ark. Yes, archaeological sort of people out there that still believe that Noah's Ark may still exist. So yeah, that was my follow on from your blog, Paul. So I don't know whether Kerry's got on that already.
Yes, I have got on that
no,
already.
God, yeah.
Oh, you know what that
He's
means.
like, oh no.
You know what that means. I've got to read Kerry's blog and follow on.
Yeah, that's right.
And Claire, I always try and get Paul to go down the spiritual route. Get that.
Oh dear. Yeah. And I should try and salvage something from it. But
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you back on with me. I missed this.
Oh, we'll have to do another show.
We will. We will have to do another one. We'll have to call you back on when we're talking spiritual woo-woo stuff.
We'll have to show them how it's done.
Hell yeah. And don't forget, if you do want to catch any of our past shows, we are over on YouTube. You can catch all the shows I've done with Claire, as well as every show that Parasearch Radio put out there, and all the shows that we do under Paranormal UK Radio. So go search for Paranormal Concept and they will come up. And trust me, you are missing out if you don't pass that on to people who like the paranormal or the spiritual or the historical or the folklore or any other thing that comes under the paranormal banner. On that note, check out our website as well. Read our blogs because we're just goddamn amazing. And on that note, say good night, guys.
And buy our books.
Well, yeah, obviously. Say
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.